Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far in, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button before you left today, that helps out my channel quite a bit. I also love having comments from you, so please leave a comment if you'd like. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Today I'm going to do the first part of kind of a two-part video. Today I'm going to make a chain bracelet which is going to become a charm bracelet. So today I'm going to make the chain and the clasp, and then on Thursday this week I'll be posting some charms, how to make some charms to put on there. So hopefully this works out. We'll see. I've never done anything quite like this, and it should be a fun experiment. Before we get started, I need to thank some people. I wanted to thank my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 7,600, I think it was, and I think we're getting close to, or we may have passed, no, 7,700 we passed. So we're getting close to 8,000. Thank you for all of your support, both financial and all of the nice things that you put in the comments section. I really appreciate that. The other group I wanted to thank are my patrons over on Patreon. They pay for my premium content, and they formed a really nice community over there. I have a new one, Lunatique Craft. Thank you for signing up. I really appreciate your support. And I hope that you enjoy the community we're starting to develop over there. It's turned out to be a really nice place with a lot of smart people. So thanks for signing up. And thank you, patrons who've signed up in the past. All right, let's get started. All right, so I usually do a little drawing of what I'm going to do in my design idea book here. These are available, incidentally, on my merch store. I find that they're really useful for keeping things symmetrical when I draw them up because they have this little grid pattern in the background. So if you want to support the channel in that way, these are kind of a handy tool to have. Doing a little link chain, I didn't have too much to draw up here. I'm basically going to do this sort of a chain where it's oval links that are flattened out a little bit so that they kind of nest themselves together. And I'm going to use twisted wire, and to make that twisted wire I'm going to use two pieces of 18 gauge, or actually one piece folded over on itself and then twisted together, and then we'll make the links out of that. I'm going to attempt to make a hinge clasp for this that has a kind of a tension catch, and we'll see how that turns out. I've not done that before. It should be a good challenge. And then like I said, on Thursday we'll add some charms to it. I'll show you some different ways to make charms. But I'm doing this one about 6.5 inches or 165 millimeters. So yeah, let's make some links out of that. But first we need to twist some wires, so I'll show you how to do that. Alright, I apologize for the mess over in my little area here. I folded a piece of 18 gauge wire. This particular piece is, oh, I don't know, it looks like maybe 3.5 to 4 feet long. And I'm going to chuck it right into my drill. This. Try to get it as tight as I can in there. Let's just hook it over something like this. And I'm just going to move this back a little to see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to use that to hold it, and then I'm just going to run the drill. Okay, that broke off a little before it got as tight as I wanted the twist to be, so I'm going to rechuck it in there. Rechuck? Is that a word? Rechuck? Probably tight enough. If you've never twisted wire before, you wouldn't know this, but when you do it, it puts tension along all of the entire length of the wire, and so when you're torquing it like that, it really makes it springy. It's work hardening it. So I'm going to wrap it up a little bit like this, and then we're going to anneal it to get rid of some of that work hardening. Annealing is where you heat it up to the point where it gets a little bit kind of reddish colored, and then you let it cool off, and that takes that work hardening out of it, makes it soft and bendable again. If you watch the wire, it kind of like move a little bit as the tension is going out of it. You see it's kind of like distorting. It's kind of that springiness going away. Probably good enough. We'll let him cool off for a bit. Alright, that feels like it's cooled off. You notice now it's much squishier, not so springy. Now, to make these rings, I'm going to use my different size bail making pliers here. I'm going to use this particular one. That'll give us a pretty good size for what I want to do here. Alright, now you can cut these off however you want. I'm just going to do it the easy way. I have these flush cutters that cut flat on this side, so I'll just flip them over each time I cut one out. I'm going to have to snip off the little bad end that I left. See how many we got out of that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I estimate we'll need about 25 or 26 of them, so I'll probably have to twist a little bit more wire, but I can show you how I'm going to get these started. I'm going to I'm going to spend a little time making sure these are nice and flat on the edges, and then I'm going to solder about half of them closed, and I'll show you why in a minute. So that'll be our next step. So I'm going to file these a little bit. Just right. Probably don't have to watch me do all of these. I'll be right back. I have filed the ends of all of these, and I lined up, I think I lined up 9 of them, and there's 10 over here that I'm going to leave unsoldered. But then I need to cut a bunch of little tiny pieces of solder here. So I use a method of soldering called pick soldering that I use almost all the time. So if you're interested in learning how to do that, I'll put a link right there for you. It's a very useful skill to have, I think. Set these over here. It allows you to place a precise amount of solder in exact places. So I find it improves my outcome and allowed me to do things that I definitely couldn't do before I learned how to do it. Alright, so we'll flux these up. I use hard silver sheet solder and Mighty Flux, which is a liquid flux that I spray on. Get these guys nice and crusty. Let's pick up a little bit of solder over here. You could solder these in any way you want. This is just the easiest way for me to do it. The hardest part for me is figuring out where the actual split is sometimes. So I try to line them all up kind of facing me. That way I can at least have a as my eyes continue to get worse. Come here. I'm going to add a little bit more to the first couple. Alright, so I'm going to try and stretch these out a little bit into an oval with my little round nose pliers. I may do a little manual shaping to get them more consistent. Alright, let's see if we can hook some of these together now. Put 2 of these over one of these other ones. Oops. I'm a little fumbly fingered today, so. lined up nice. I'm going to use a third hand. Keep this elevated. It also allows me to kind of keep the heat isolated on the upper ring mostly. And I can pick a little bit of solder right here at the solder joint. Hopefully not reflowing any of that other stuff. Do our best. I find the trick is to kind of keep the heat pointed off to the side there a little bit so it's not focused downwards on the other rings. The thing that's a little tricky when you're doing it with the third hand is the third hand soaks up a lot of heat. It sometimes takes a little bit longer because it's soaking up so much heat. Let's see if we still got movement and everything. It looks alright. This is going to be kind of a repetitive process, so I'll show you one or two and then I'll not make you watch me do it over and over again. But now that I got the two ovals connected to the circle, I need to make the other one an oval too. So let's see if we can do that. Spread it out like that. And if you need to, do a little manual shaping. I want it to be relatively symmetrical. It's not bad. Now, do another one of these. Then hook on an extra one of these. Then we'll just repeat the process. Like I said, keep the heat kind of pointed sideways when you're doing this so that you don't overheat these ones and get the solder that's already in those to stick to itself. I do that occasionally still, but most of the time you can avoid it. Can't get that one a little more oval now. Looks pretty good. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I have one that's about 6, I think it's 6 1/4 inches long, or 6 1/2 inches long. So I'll be back once I've done that. So I've gotten a bit of chain that's about the right length. What I'm going to do next may change the length, so I made it a little bit long, and I think it's going to make it a little bit longer, but we'll see. In order to get this into kind of, I think it's called a curb chain, where it's got a little twist to it, I'm going to manually put a little twist in all of these lengths. So I'm going to use 2 flat nose pliers like this. twist them just a little bit like that. Then I'll go to the next one. You want to make sure you twist them all in the same direction too. So then they'll end up laying down a little bit more like that. Okay, so I think next what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out like this. I'm going to flatten it a little bit with my chasing hammer along the whole length. So. Starting to lay pretty nice. Okay, I think I'm gonna let that pickle for a while and have a little snack. And then we'll come back and we'll make our clasp. So I wanted to show you how I did the clasp here, but I had never done one of these before, so I kind of wanted to experiment off camera, and I did, and I was able to succeed, I think. What I did first was I created these two horseshoe shaped pieces and put a piece of 16 gauge round soldered between them, and then I added some flattened 14 gauge square wire and curved it around so I could connect it there. Same way on the other side over here. So they'd be able to attach to the edge of the chain. This part here is the part I wasn't sure that I could do, but after some thinking through and calculating based on some factory-made ones of these I've seen, I cut a piece of 22 gauge sterling sheet, about that size, and another piece actually was a bit longer than this because the first one I did wasn't quite long enough. And I soldered a little ball onto it at one point here. I should have probably soldered it a little further along, but I think it's fine. And what I did was these get bent upwards. Right between here I did another 16 gauge piece of wire that soldered across there. And then this piece here I put around one of these horseshoe shaped wires in the middle there and brought it around, and then I added this piece onto here and bent this down so that it would close over that like that and hold it still. But in order to connect it, I think if they were smooth wire they would smoothly rotate around each other, but since they're twisted wire they can get a little catchy. So this goes through here like that, fits into that notch there, and you just pull this closed and it snaps over, so you got a little clasp there.
I'm going to let this pickle. I'm going to do a little safety chain here too that connects from this side to this side with a little fine chain, and that'll be just in case this clasp ever fails. You won't lose the bracelet. So, all right, so let's let that pickle for a while. I will, like I said, I'll work on it so it lays better a little bit, and then we'll add that safety chain and we'll be done. So. Okay, got it all polished up. A couple of things I'd say about polishing chains. One, it's really dangerous to do on a wheel because if it gets caught, it can get part of your hand wrapped up in it and you're yanked into the wheel. So be very careful if you've never done that. You always want to keep anything dangling contained. You know, you can, but honestly, until you've had a little bit more experience polishing, you might want to tumble polish these kinds of things. I usually polish them on the wheel and then tumble polish them to get in any nooks and crannies I couldn't quite reach. A couple of notes about this one that I've noticed is these links don't, because of their twisted wire, they get hung up a little bit sometimes, so they don't flow as smoothly as regular ones. So if I was to do this again, I probably would go ahead and use I don't know, 16 gauge round wire or 14 gauge round wire and just make ovals and do it that way. I think it would move a little better, but that's just one little thing, I think. Last thing I was going to do is I was going to put a little safety chain on here, and so I hooked a little clasp that I had from a broken chain on a little piece of wire, and I put a little jump ring on the other end. I'm just going to hook this over this here, in theory. Like that. And kind of closed up there. And then this other side we can just hook over on the other side. Maybe. Oh, this is too narrow. Okay. My plan isn't working. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll put a little 20 gauge jump ring on this thing and then we'll just hook to that. So that's what I will do. And then I'll get some pictures of it and I'll put them at the end. So. Well, that was the little link bracelet that we made that hopefully on Thursday I'll be able to add some charms to. And if you enjoyed that, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And make sure to also check out some of my other videos. I have 250 or 260 videos now, and I do 3 a week. So there's one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday morning usually. So maybe give it a subscribe and tell your friends about it. I'd love to continue to grow and reach more people. So before you leave also, you might want to check out the video description. If you want to become a supporter of the channel, there's a number of ways there to do that. There's some links that are important to me there. There's my website link where you can see some of my jewelry for sale. There's a merch store. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link where you can support the channel by tipping me basically, which helps to buy supplies and things. And finally, there's a Patreon link if you want to check out my Patreon site. So thanks for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.